So what do we say in our business? Cash is king, net worth is kingdom.
Mhm.
So what I'm worth long term, it has far greater impact than my income.
And wealth and ownership is the ability to have the options for the things I want to do and to have the impact that I want to have in other people's lives.
Money reveals a lot of things about us. It lets us know what we prioritize, what we value, what we fear, what we got faith in, all of that, and how we earn things, how we spend it, how we save it, how we give it. All of that reflects who we are.
Yeah, we building right. Jaime and Mike, we'll have you step into the next level. Timeless game every day of the week. Could tell you how to level up your spirit and be success driven and mind strong. Get your finances right, get your grind on. You know there's power in the stories. Tune in, this the valor of the true man. Success blueprint. The success blueprint. The success blueprint.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Success Blueprint. I'm Mike Whitaker, the man of valor, and today we're stepping into episode 3, ownership and wealth of our Prosperous series. We have Jaime, the financial enabler. Last episode, we went through and spoke about radiance and health and understanding who you are and why you're here. So let's dive in, brother. You ready?
I'm ready. And today we're talking, you said ownership and wealth, right?
Yeah.
Man, this is this is kind of the life that we've been living. I'm creating wealth, and I will say that there's a lot of talk about this in the spiritual side and in the biblical side. And again, this is not prosperity talk, but I just heard, this is the funniest thing, and this is what I want to say real quick, that if you don't believe in wealth, you might as well just throw away the entire book of Proverbs.
You might as well,
And I was
bro.
like, oh man, that's really good. The whole thing talks about it. So this is not
Absolutely.
prosperity. I want to start, let's start this time with defining success and wealth. For me, I'll say, for me, success in wealth and in ownership is the ability to have the options for the things I want to do and to have the impact that I want to have in other people's lives. If I could just do that, obviously the why defines those things. But if I can do those two things, I think that'll be wealthy. And obviously, fortunately, we keep dreaming, we keep expanding our why. So the amount of wealth that we need keeps growing because we have more desire for more impact,
Yeah.
right? I don't need a Ferrari. At this point, I don't even want a Ferrari, but I really want to be able to fly fish where I want. I want to donate to nonprofits. I want to see a church grow. I want my friends to be able to fly first class when I fly first class. So that's kind of how I define success. How about you?
Yeah, no, that's really good. For me, if I look at success and wealth, I say wealth is like margins, right? It's options, it's peace, right? Saying yes, right? And the strength to say no because nobody owns me, right? One of our mentors that we talk about all the time, he says, own your own life, right? And that's what I think wealth does, right? It allows you to be able to have the option to say, you know what, my yes is my yes and my no is my no. I don't want to ever have to tell my children no because I don't have the money. I want to tell them no because it's not good for them. Right. I want to have the option to say, you know what? We're not working for the next week. Right. We're going to go spend a week in Honduras and give back. Right. And do that, have that ability. I want to have the peace of mind and knowing that if the government shuts down, my income still flourishes. Right. And I'm not relying on anybody else, but I have, because God is my source and everything else is the resource. So wealth to me is understanding all of those things. Right. Which is super important. Right. And the truth is, most people don't have enough money, have a money problem. They got an ownership problem,
What do you
right?
mean? What do you mean by ownership problem?
Yeah. So because they don't own, they don't own they don't own their income,
Mm.
right? So they don't have the ability to say, what they can and can't do. They're relying on somebody else to do that. And I'm not saying having a job is a bad thing, right? Having a job is not bad. We just have to build our lives in a way that we have the ability to own something. Right now, I might be working for somebody else, but I need to do right with those resources so I can put in for my own life so I can move that. Right. And I don't want money to be that thing that controls us. And most people have that. Right. And those are my thoughts around that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny, and I spoke about this, is that people want to own their homes, but not own their income, right? And
Okay.
I think we recently heard that like the idea that a job is a relatively new thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? We used to all work for ourselves. We used to have, work our plot of land, right? Obviously, there was always, very successful people, whether it was let's go back to the kings or a warlord, whatever, that gave us an opportunity to have a job and earn a living. But we rarely exchange. It wasn't, I think the exchange was for survival, not for wealth. We're exchanging for nutrition, shelter, safety, whatever. But now as we look at it, nutrition, safety, and shelter are often given by our society. So
Mm.
now we're seeking opulence, right?
Come on.
And therefore we're not owning our own self. And that's something that, as you were saying, ownership. And it's so funny how we when we pick the Prosperate, it's like, are you able to own yourself, own your life,
Your
right?
life.
Own your life. And I think that I was going to ask you this, the ability to say no to things. Like, how many things do you want to say no to? And people, like, I think most people, they think no as the negatives, right? What are some things you want to say no to if you had total ownership of your life?
Yeah. Bro, that's such an impactful question because it makes me think back a couple years ago, when I realized that no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to and I didn't have to justify my no. For me, some things that I would say no to now is working for another person. And no offense to anybody whose spouse works for somebody else, but no to some other person, man, woman, whatever, telling my wife what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No to the fact that my kids don't have a choice in where they go to school, right? How we do life. Saying no to the fact that I can't just give the way that I want to give. You know what I mean? And have an impact in those ways. I can't buy the vehicle I want. I can't buy, you know what I mean? Like those are the things I would say no to. And somebody actually could, hey man, dangling I got, $250,000, but you get all my time. Right.
Right.
And that's the stuff that I choose to say no to, and I will want to say no to all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Giving up. I think we asked the question yesterday to our team. We said, what are the things that you tolerate that you should not be? And what are some of the things that if you have a price on your values, if you have a price on those things, what would you not do for money, for success, for all of the things? And that's the stuff that I would say no to. I'm never going to give up my faith. Nobody could ever pull me away from Christ for a dollar. Right. Oh, you'll get your own show, $100 million show for the next 10 years, but you can't talk about Christ. It's like, yeah, no, thank you. Right. Because that's part of who I am. So you can't take that away from me. You know what I mean? So things like that are where I would say no. Do you have any, what are some things that you would say no to?
Well, I would say I want to say no to subsidized healthcare. I
Yeah.
do not want to depend on subsidized healthcare, which
Yeah.
right now I do, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
part of the VA system. I no longer want to depend on that. I don't ever want my girl, myself, and my future kids for me to walk up to the VA and then tell us a determination and me have to say, this is my only option. To me, that is a hard no. I will not be limited by subsidized healthcare. I'll say no to what was another I don't want the government to dictate all the impact that my taxpayer dollar that my money has, right? Which again, let's say we always pay some taxes. So the government will always determine the impact. I want to be able to be so good at or have the resources to be so good with my taxes that I can pay way less so that my money can have the impact as I see it fit. Like I would love to, and I've never thought of this. This is a fresh thought. I would love to find out the company that gets contracted for fixing potholes and being like, hey, can I give you $1 million so you can fix all these potholes? You know,
Absolutely.
it's like, I'm sure there's a way to backdoor government and make it happen faster. There has to be, right?
Yeah.
And money talks, right? I want to say no to economy class on flights.
Bro.
I want to say no to that a lot. I want to say no to limits. I want to say no to let's say when a friend, when a friend needs something, I want to be able to say, no, you're not going to experience that.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend that just had to refinance a house just to make ends meet. And I was like, I want to be able to say, no, don't do that. Here's 20 grand. Don't worry about it. And not to be like, how much do I owe you? When do I owe you? It's like, never.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say no to my limits in giving.
Yeah.
Right. And I like how you said that like the no is a complete sentence. And, Chris Voss, the guy, if everybody reads Never Split the Difference, he is very good at framing questions in no because they're very empowering. It actually empowers the person saying no. So if you're saying no to things, you're actually empowering it. And obviously, a lot of things I said you can frame it in yes, but it's also very empowering to be like, no, I'm gonna do something good for you, right? It's very empowering, and I think that would be really good. Man, this was a really good question. I feel we could talk about this for a whole hour.
Whole
Just
hour.
on this.
Yeah. Yeah, we could for 100%. So let's go a little deeper though. Let's talk about money, right? Because money is super spiritual, whether people want to admit it or not, right? And we absolutely, money reveals a lot of things about us. It lets us know what we prioritize, what we value, what we fear, what we got faith in, all of that, right? And how we earn things, how we spend it, how we save it, how we give it, all of that reflects who we are, right? And what we truly believe about money. So tell me, what are some things, that's a better question. If everything belonged to God, what does stewardship look like with money?
I have something I just heard on this is a social media thing. So I'm willing to bet somebody could add to this. So it's the idea that gold is indestructible. So therefore gold has been here since the beginning. So therefore gold, it could only be made by God because we haven't gotten rid of it, right?
So good.
And I always go back to if you're a counter prosperity preacher, I think you haven't looked into it. I don't think prosperity preaching is good in itself, right? For the selfishness of the church or the person, but understanding the impact of wealth in our spirituality is key, right? So with that same idea, right? If gold was put in the Garden of Eden, why did God give us gold when we had no need to transact anything? Like he had a purpose. It's like, hey, I know you're never going to need anything, but I'm going to put gold just in case. There must have been a purpose, right? And it's been there. So to me, when I think of like stewardship, is that God put this gold here. We must do something good with said gold. God didn't tell us what to do with it. And not at least at that point. I'm sure that in the 8 mentions of gold in Genesis, I'm sure that there is more to that. But what do we do? What impact? And I realized that stewardship is like the idea, and I formulated this thought recently, that we ultimately are never giving money and again, I want to be able to say, I don't want to be able to give money, but we're ultimately never giving money because the money was never ours to give. What we're giving is a hope. We're giving a feeling. We're giving an impact. We're giving, in reality, money doesn't buy happiness, but go ahead and give $1 million to a kid with cancer.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's a happy kid, right?
Yeah,
whether he wants to fulfill his dreams, whether he has his medical needs, I don't care, right? He will feel joy for that limited time that money, that transaction can have. So to me, the stewardship is we're given this money, this wealth, whatever amount it is, and the more we do with it, the better it is. And the more we keep just for ourselves, the worse it is. So I think that's something like a lot of the people that you and I admire, they're billionaires. They have accounts that are full of money, but they already have a plan to give it to their kids in legacy for 360 years. So they already said, I need to accumulate this so that they can do something with it.
Impact.
So ultimately, it's not even for them. They're not enjoying it, right? So the more, and again, we go back to discipline, the less that you enjoy your money and the more somebody else enjoys your money, the better the world is. And that is the ownership and stewardship. So we got to respect it, right? Like I cannot waste it because somebody may need it, right? Yeah. So I think that's a lot of stewardship. And I mean, this is such a good conversation. Like, what about you? How do you see stewardship, the spiritual stewardship of wealth and money?
Yeah. I mean, everything you said, right on point. It goes back to something I heard somebody say years ago. It's that money isn't everything, but it's right up there with air. It's pretty doggone important. I mean, and it does everything. If you go to Ecclesiastes 10:19, it said money solves all problems. And if you got a lot of problems to solve, you need a lot of money. Right? And there's a lot of problems in the world. And it literally is important. You talked about the gold. It's interesting how the thing that we cherish the most on earth is how in heaven we walk on.
Yeah. Nice.
It's insane, right? So gold and that money, having money is everything. It runs the world. You know what I mean? And not in a way that a lot of times, this is how I see it. A lot of times people want money and use people versus, or love money and use people versus loving people and using money. Bob Proctor says money is meant to be circulated. Yeah. It should not stop moving. And that means compound interest in your own accounts. And then how you affect the world by giving it away and not in a way that you're, oh, I'm just throwing money in the streets. No, I mean, you got to be a good steward and making sure you're sowing on good ground, right? And as long as your heart's in the right place, you can't help what other people do with the money, right? After you've given it. But so it's not even about that. It's about what your intent was, what your heart was. So money, stewardship, when it comes to money, a lot of us want a lot of it, but aren't willing to give it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? The man, even if you go biblically, it talks about it in Timothy and in I believe in Peter, where it talks about, man, those that have money are meant to be given it away. Like you have a bigger calling on your life. Not everybody can handle that. So if you don't give, if you can't give 10% of $1,000, what you gonna do with 10,000? You're not
Yeah.
gonna give then, right? What you gonna do with 1,000,000? You're not gonna give then. It only exacerbates who we are. So
Yeah.
spiritually, the stewardship of money is huge,
Mm.
right? And even Jesus talked about counting the cost before you do anything, right? Especially in business and all those things. So you got to count the cost. It costs to do things. It's needed. It's required. And you talked about it, how God put gold in the Garden of Eden. I think it was Myron Golden who I heard talk about this, right? And he was like, why did he put it there back in the Garden of Eden
Yeah.
when we weren't paying for anything?
Yeah.
Because and you mentioned this word that I love now, opulence, right? It's a part of my daily confession. Opulence and abundance were a part of God's original design for us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're not supposed to be poor. We're not supposed to be that way. We shouldn't have to go to the world if we're looking just biblically, just look at the Bible to get money, to get loans. We should be the ones lending that. We should be the lender and not the borrower. That's what the Bible says. You're the lender, not the borrower, right? And we should be the ones doing that. We should be able to have those resources inside. And the more we have to give, the more influence we have
Mm.
on the world, right? To be able to do the things that we want to do. So it's so important for us in the kingdom, not to chase money, but to chase the impact, right? Go
Yeah.
make all the money you can. Let's say I don't need all of that. I only need 20 grand. Great. Go make $1,000,000 and you live off 20, give away
Yeah.
the other 980 million,
Yeah.
980,000, right? Like
Yeah.
it's fine. That's good. That's great. Now you can impact the kingdom in a great way. However, you want to be a great steward and be a great example of not struggling at the same time, not living a hardship like, well, I don't know where my bill's getting paid and I'm not sure. And I'm just trusting God. If you're still trusting God for your light bill to be paid and you've been here for 30 years, you got to do your part,
Yeah.
right? You got to
And,
get to
and
work.
and why you saying your God is so little that he can only pay your bills?
Thank you.
Like what? Did you just is your Cracker Jack's God,
Yeah.
Cracker
Yeah.
Jack box God? And I think man, I just had a thought, I just skipped my mind that the ownership, and you just said something kind of I'm thinking about it, is that if we give more money, we can own more of the world. And now I'm not saying owning the world like in selfish, but if we own the impact, right? That is part of that ownership. So we can say that, there's I just think about it like Taylor Swift, right? Taylor Swift just donated a bunch of food in during her era tour. So she owned that. Now she's owning those hearts. There's kids right now that are fed, right? And maybe not owned, but she took some ownership in that, right? You took ownership in the action. And that desire, that's what I was going to say. What I was thinking is like when people say, I only need $100,000. The question is, then why are you so selfish? Why do you need 100, but who needs that million?
Yeah.
And why are you not going to get it? And there's like an abundance, like that is the idea, is like, how do we take some more of this unlimited resource, right? Like I heard somebody say once is like, there's abundance, like leaves in a tree, fish in the sea, right? We could have more of that. So that ownership clearly comes into the giving, right? Like how do you want to give it away and impact, right? Like we're saying, go build your wealth, be a good steward of your wealth, and then go choose somewhere to give it, right? And I think of like the pressure, right? Like how we end up doing a lot of wrong things with our money. In your mind, where does financial pressure hurt the leadership, the focus of a family, of a congregation, of even a business? What would you say with that?
Yeah, it's a limiting, bro, because you stop focusing on the impact and start focusing on you, right? And it's very limiting. It hurts. It hurts how you. It can hurt how you lead. It can hurt, your belief system, like what people believe about you, what you believe is capable for doing the things that we do. It hurts in every single way. I'm often reminded because I've been told, "Oh, Mike, you should pastor." You should. I don't want to do that, right? I'll do whatever God tells me to do. But I've never wanted to be one of those pastors or preachers or guys that have a church that I'm preaching at the church about money because I'm scared the bill's not being paid. right? And things like that. So it hurts, right? So now I get into manipulation, right? When you got those financial pressures, it can hurt your leadership side. Now you start manipulating people to give more. And God told me to tell you there's 10 people in here that's gonna give 100,000. And dumb pimp, we ain't moving to those. It's like, yo, if God really said that, then let him tell them and they'll be good stewards, right? And they'll heed to his voice in business, right? Now I'm pressuring people to get a sale versus leading people to do what's good for them because I'm so worried about paying my bills, right? I'm so worried about not hitting a deadline or things like that. And I'm not able to focus on why I really started this thing. Is it for me to have kingdom impact forever, or is it for me to have impact on just this one paycheck, right? Just one bill and making a sale and hurry up and getting to people and not taking care of folks, right? So a lot of times, in my opinion, that pressure, leadership wise, it hurts your ability to lead because people see you as a person that's only about the money, right? And it changes your focus from impact to my own bank account. So I can't think clearly, right, at all, which hurts every aspect. Now I lose that influence, which is what leadership is all about, right? And we'll get into that probably some later episodes. What leadership is all. It hurts that influence. It hurts my ability to focus on the end goal versus the right now. And I'm looking at how can I pay my bills versus my net worth thinking, right? And how I'm impacting the world. How can I help this man or woman get to their goals and dreams?
You just said something I don't think a lot of people have heard. You said net worth thinking, but people always talk about cash flow. What's the difference between net worth thinking and let's say cash flow thinking?
Yeah. So what do we say in our business? Cash is king, net worth is kingdom, right? So what I'm worth long term, it has far greater impact than my income right now, right? So the difference is, like we have goals, right? Net worth goals. Some people get 10 million, 10 years, 25 million, 10 years, whatever, 100 million, 10 years, whatever that number is. Now I'm thinking more so about my end goal. I need to be worth $10 million in 10 years. What that's going to do for my family, how many people I'm going to impact, right? What am I building, my longevity? Now I'm building something great. I know that I can never get there on my own. Nobody's ever accomplished anything great individually. Now I might have an individual net worth, but I'm helping a whole bunch of people and impact them on the same time, right? So when I have a net worth, I have way more freedom. I have way more ownership. I have way more options versus just income. My income can stop immediately. But my net worth is lasting and it's still growing and that thing is still building. And even if I'm not there, and man, I'm making money in my sleep, which is ultimately what we all want anyway.
Yeah.
To have that. So that's my idea around it. Tell me, and can add to that.
No, I think that I'm just going to say that too many people focus on the cash flow without the net worth. So the simple perspective is, again, in numbers, let's say you got paid $300,000 a year. Actually, let's use Bob Proctor. He got paid $1 million a year cleaning offices.
Yeah.
When he was in England, he realized he was broke. He had nothing. He could just go and make more money. So he was thinking in cash flow, not net worth. When he flipped to net worth, he was able to build a legacy. So, and again, there's plenty of people making $40,000 a year with net worth thinking that are multimillionaires.
Absolutely.
But there's equally people with a ton of cash flow that are dirt poor. So we really believe in that idea that, like, obviously, if your cash flow is good, your net worth can get impacted faster, but you got to be thinking about the net worth to achieve it. And I think that is a more mature perspective on wealth. And I think that, and I'll ask anybody that is listening to this, is that how do you start defining whether it's limited or great cash flow to what net worth you want to achieve, right? And it could start with $1 million. And then 2, obviously they say the first million is the hardest one to make. The first 100K is the hardest one to make. And then you start growing with that. What about with lessons learned? What financial mistake has taught you the most?
Here we go. I got many of them, right? I tell people often that my wife and I have been debt-free 7 times.
Nice.
Right? Which is insane, right? And it's like really good. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. And I don't see it as awesome. I take it as we didn't learn 7 times, right? We repeated the same mistake. We were those guys, financial mistake. What we did was we focused on paying off debt versus growing and building wealth. So we got exactly what we asked for. And so every year we pay off the debt. We're like, yes, we're debt free yet. Like I heard somebody say, yeah, being debt free is not that great. It just puts you back at zero because you have no money and no nothing. So as soon as we get debt free, we went through something. And now because we didn't save money,
Yeah.
we're right back in the same position, having to use credit cards or whatever, right, to be able to get back into the same space. And we repeat that cycle. So it was a cycle of us going through that and not understanding, bro, you gotta save money, pay yourself first, and not just pay off debt. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest mistake that I made. And I mean, it reminded me when you mentioned that. It reminded me of when we played if anybody's ever played it, cash
Yeah.
flow, right? Cash flow is a really good. I recommend you play it with your kids, especially with your kids, but play with your friends too. We're a bunch of adults, and it's a really good game because it teaches you to think net worth. It teaches you to think differently than just your income and how money works and seeing how it grows. And that's one of the mistakes. So, yeah, that's one of my biggest mistakes, right? What about you? Did you have a big one or two?
I would say there's two. I haven't told you about this one. I'm gonna tell you one. I'll say one and I'll tell you one I haven't told you yet. So the first one is trusting an expert without knowing. And I'm referring to a life insurance guy. I have stories with life insurance guys. I have stories with financial advisors. I have stories with CPAs. I've been screwed by all of them. But now I know what right looks like. And the reality is, the crazy thing is some of them only, like, for example, the life insurance guy, he didn't screw me with the product. He screwed me with what he meant, what he was trying to teach me. So I've been screwed by all kinds of people in all ways. That's the first thing. I think that limited me. Like, that's part of where my Roth IRA is not huge, was because the financial advisor didn't put more money there. And the second one is, again, in trust, is falling into a Ponzi scheme. I'll tell you about this. So I fell into a Ponzi scheme. Everything looked good financially speaking. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you fall into a Ponzi scheme, have some grace with you. Odds are you were not going to know. So I put my money in these things without understanding the securities vehicle that the money was in. And then all of a sudden, they don't reach out to me. All of a sudden, one of the state security office sends me an email. It's like, there's people under investigation. And this is the crazy thing. This company was found out to have been screwing veterans, law enforcement for years.
Wow.
I was just caught. I just put my money right at the end. So it's kind of funny. But now that lesson, I'm very blessed that I was able to say, God, there was a lesson there. I never needed it. Right. And I think I'm glad with it, because a lot of people that want to build wealth are doing it in fear. Right. Go look at any, like, I like Jensen Huang from NVIDIA. He tells a story of going into the CEO of Sega, the video game company, and telling him, hey, I need you to pay me those $5 million, but I'm not going to deliver the product. If you don't pay me $5 million, we're going broke. If you do pay me, we still might go broke. The CEO of Sega still paid. So people are living in fear of not putting your money in places, and they're missing out on the lessons. But you go look at any wealthy person, they've all lost hundreds of millions of dollars. So you cannot be attached to that pain. I was like, oh man, life is terrible. I lost $1,000 or whatever. You got to move through it. So I think that is part of that ownership. I chose to own my life. I did not choose to let the company that screwed me own my life, right? Because that wealth, I do not love money. It's gone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So I think that's a big lesson that people early on, you got to move about life without fear. And if you believe in God, even if you lost it all, it's coming right back. But if you're fearful and you're like saying that your God is a little God, then yes, you're never going to have enough money, right? So ownership is huge. So that to me is some of the biggest lessons I've gotten. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that makes sense, man. Ponzi. I remember somebody tried to get me in one. I was like, "Oh, that's illegal. We can't do it. I'm not doing it. I'll give you the $20, whatever the case may be." So.
And this one looked, everything looked right. It's so funny. I'll tell more about it after like all the legal stuff comes out, but it's really funny. Everything looked legit. And then I was like, oh, it's Ponzi scheme. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So what would you say? Well, like some takeaways, some things that people can do this week with these actions. What message do you have for them, Mike?
So I'll say it this way: financial ownership. It basically has 4 pillars, right? That people need to think about. Number 1, awareness. Right? You need to know where your money's going. Clarity creates control. That's huge, right? So number 1 is awareness. Number 2 is intentionality. Tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went, right? And I often say this: people that don't know where they're spending their money will give its own, right? So you need to tell your money where to go. Number 3, protection, insurance, right? Emergency reserves, planning, wisdom prepares. So as the more wise you get and the more preparation you'll have, right? So protection of your money, that's huge. And then the last one, number 4, growth. Savings, not just saving, putting it in an account, but it has to be invested where you can earn money, build for the future and not just today, right? One of our mentors says this, a lot of us are looking out for our children's tomorrow versus their future, right? So how can we look out for your own future? And those are the things. And then the last thing I'll say is ownership is super boring sometimes, especially building wealth, because it's a long process. There's no get rich quick schemes. Everybody that hits the lottery is broke in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I heard somebody say this, and this will be the last thing I'll say, and turn it to you for some closing thoughts. But if I gave a random person $10 million, does that make them a millionaire? It's like, no, it just hasn't. I mean, he has $10 million. But if I gave a millionaire $40,000, would he become a millionaire?
Yep.
Yes, right? All day long. So it's about who you are and how you think and grow yourself to those next levels. So super cool, right?
Yeah. And I will say, obviously, I fell in a Ponzi scheme, but there's a scheme that I really like, and it's the get rich slow scheme that Warren Buffett talks about. Big fan of that. Like, ride that get rich slow scheme, you're gonna be all right. And again, guys, have the knowledge that like there's good things and bad things. You're bound to get screwed by anybody anywhere. That's why you gotta seek knowledge, right? There's literally a pastor somewhere right now planning a sermon to take some money. And this is a guy with a good, allegedly good heart. So I'm saying is that somewhere, anybody could screw you. So that way you have to have knowledge, you have to seek discernment, you have to have a network, right, of people that know stuff to protect and again, to be able to move without fear. So I'll give that. And the second one, since this is a line of work, but if you guys don't ever want to work with us, if you ever want to learn more about your financial situation, get a financial needs analysis, you can reach out to us. We can connect you with an expert, right? We have a ton of resources at whatever, from investing, estate planning, whatever you guys need, tax planning, just reach out. So with that, we're going to close this one. Awesome episode, Mike. And we'll see you guys next week here at the Success Blueprint.
Absolutely.